It. You know what I got saw it when you mentioned Beyonce.
Uh,
She don't do shit she tell y'all to do.
No.
that is true.
Everything she tell y'all to do, she do the opposite.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, that's
Her
Same
true.
with Cardi, talking about I don't cook, I don't clean, but she literally on Instagram cooking and cleaning.
what is Beyonce last name?
Carter.
So much for independent. It just like she don't do none of this shit she be telling y'all to do. Her and Caressa.
Nobody, none of these rappers, influencers do what they
They
be telling
don't.
them to do.
Look, Caressa trying to smile like we can't see her. Yeah, you too, Negro. I'm bugging.
Can I may I touch on the standards
Yeah,
thing
go
that we're
ahead,
talking
Joy.
about?
Fuck, we trying to
So
laugh. You gonna ruin the mood. Go
I
ahead,
think,
Joy. Go ahead.
sorry, I'll be quick with it. I
And now,
think
Joy, can
Carissa
you
mentioned,
also? And then since you got the mic, the child thing you were talking about. Go ahead.
okay, yeah, for sure. So in terms of the standard things, I agree with I think Carissa. Um, if she's living a specific lifestyle and she brings someone in and they want to move somewhere else, she shouldn't have to lower her standards because her partner, can't keep up with it. It's almost like dimming your light. You shouldn't have to dim your light because of someone else. If anything, the person should elevate you, or rather, you should elevate each other. So, I agree when it comes to standards, and just yeah. So I agree on that. So in terms of the men have harder lives than women. I come from a lineage of powerful women, and they done been through some struggles. I'm not going to go through the details, but to say men have harder lives, from my personal experience, it's the women that have had harder lives. So that's probably my personal experience. Growing up, my brother got everything he wanted. I was a child that never asked for anything because I just didn't ask for anything, right? Because I seen the situation my parents were in certain times. But my brother got everything he asked for. Like I never wanted for nothing, neither did he. But I never asked for things because I just saw if they were struggling, I wouldn't ask for things. He'd ask for things and he'd get them. Um, so I kind of disagree with that. When we talk about men having harder lives in terms of finding jobs, I can see where we say it in terms of incarceration. I can see that. I can see that, especially our black men. But our black women do go through some traumatic experiences. We talk about sexual violence against black women. We talk about maternal health within black women. I know everybody's heard of statistics. Black women are the most to have stillbirth or to die during childbirth. So I can understand for women who haven't had children or who haven't had that experience to not be able to relate because that's not your experience. But those of us who have had those experiences can relate. I know tons of women who had they not had advocates may not be here, you know what I mean? So we can't negate from the fact that women do have traumatic experience that maybe they just not talked about, or maybe because it's seen as the norm because we're strong black women, right? So
Right.
I wanted to touch on that, and I sense that perhaps I can't remember your name from Brooklyn. I sense that.
Aaliyah.
Oh,
Sorry, what's the
Aaliyah.
name?
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah, I sense that you probably haven't had children. That's why I asked the question. I was wondering who else had children, because I can relate to that, being a mother of two. Um, so yeah, that was my my little spill on the childbirth and stuff, and child rearing, postpartum, all of that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
There should be a lot. Well, earlier, did you want to respond?
yeah, no. So it's not to take away from what childbirth is for women. Like I understand that. Like even though I don't have kids, I understand what it is. Like I've seen it and stuff like that. So I get it. But like even in your example, you listed like two things where it's inherently worse for men in society. I think you also mentioned sexual violence. Men also experience sexual violence. The only thing that you mentioned that men don't experience inherently is childbirth. So you basically listed like three things where men are like experiencing something harder than women. and you're only talking about the one thing that women go through that is inherently harder than an experience for a man. So it's just like, even when you do that comparison, men have it harder. Like like you listed three, and then you're talking about one when it comes to women. So that's
So
all
in
I'm saying.
terms of the sexual violence, worldwide, the statistics, I don't know, the number is significantly more on women, or female, I should say, because some of them are girls. So so it's 2 and 2. But in terms of incarceration, I get that. In terms of, brutality and stuff, I do get that. And jobs, I do get that. But then again, we have to think, are we thinking globally, or are we just thinking in the US? Because then it changes the sphere of things.
No, globally. Like, men just have just
Well,
harder
no,
lives.
globally, men are workers globally. Men are workers. More men have jobs globally than women, if you're thinking about globally.
Yeah, so some of
As
their
in, like,
jobs are harder jobs, no? Or like
in
jobs
terms-
where they can lose their lives
But women
because they're
work those
more
same
like
jobs too.
yeah,
laborious,
women work the same jobs too. So
and not at the same rate as
But
men, right?
overwhelmingly,
Now
men do those things.
You
Men
said
do
not
those
at the same rate?
Yeah,
how
not
the
even at the
economy
same
is
level.
now.
Not close.
Yes.
Hey, what are we? All right, let's not get too disjointed in the conversation, right? So when you look, because we're saying, hey, things that are traumatic, right?
Right.
And so when you look at traumatic things, right, it'd be hard pressed if you want to start comparing traumatic things that are for one group to the other. I don't know if you're gonna be able to still man that point, Joy, when you start considering war and violence. So men go to war and die, right? So then what essentially trumps that? If we want it, because what we're doing is we're saying, hey, look at all these hard things, look at all these most traumatic things that I can name, and that's how we like trying to make this point, But just generally, society, you see what I'm saying? It kind of is tough, right? Because you don't want to say, no, that's insignificant. But then when you got to start comparing traumatic things, men go to war and have to die. How many men have died in Ukraine, in Russia? Like 2 million, like it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
right, and women, when you go through childbirth, it's a 50-50 rate whether you're gonna live or die. So women give birth daily. Check the
50,
Because we're built to do
50
that.
You saying
Women are built to do
50%
that.
chance that women are going to die when they're in childbirth?
Live or die, yes.
Where'd
Check the
you-
statistics.
Yeah,
The
no,
closest going to get to death.
no. Sorry, that's not the same thing, right? She's saying 50% chance that they're going to die.
Live or die.
She
It's
said,
50, isn't it?
Sorry,
So
say
because
again?
she said a
it's
woman give. Okay, go ahead. So,
I was just about to say, because it's such a traumatic experience, and because we don't always get the healthcare that we deserve when we go into these hospitals, those chances are 50-50. That's the closest you're going to get probably to death in your
So
lifetime.
here's what's the truth. Substantiate the argument that women, when they go to have a child, they have a 50% chance of dying, right? And then substantiate how childbirth is a when a woman is closest to death. Because I know we've been told that, but how do you substantiate that claim?
About the rates of women that don't make it out.
Yeah, you're saying 50% of women die? Substantiate that, and then substantiate how when a woman's in childbirth, she's closest to death. Substantiate that.
I don't know the numbers.
No, I'm not saying every time. I'm saying there's a 50. I'm not saying 50% of women die. I'm saying there's a 50% chance every time you go into childbirth that you may make it, you may not make it. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying half of the women who give birth
die. Yeah.
die. I'm saying
Like, that's
per
what I was
person.
agreeing to, though.
How do you? But you're agreeing to. Well, here's the thing. I'm not just asking you. So I'm saying substantiate that claim. Right. So just with a quick Google, right? 0.02% die. 1 in every 5,000. So now what?
So again, I'm not saying out of all the women who give birth, I'm saying per woman, when you go in to give birth, you have a 50% chance of living or dying. I'm not saying all the women in the world, there's 50% are dying and 50% are living.
You're saying they have a 50% chance of dying. I heard what you said, and I'm saying substantiate that claim if 1 out of every 5,000 are dying. It's emphatically untrue. Because people would have to be dying at a rate that would make that claim accurate. But in fact, they're not dying. 1 in every 5,000 are dying.
But it's
So
a chance. It's like
and
when
we
you
know
flip,
that
I think,
African
hold on
American
one
women as
second.
well.
When you flip a thing heads or tails, there's a 50% chance. But every time you flip something heads, it's not going to exactly be 50 or 50. It's not going to be one. You know what I mean? If you flip coins, 100 coins, right?
Yes.
There's a 50% chance of that coin flipping on one side or the other side.
Yes.
If you did it 100 times, it's not going to be exactly 50-50. It's not going to be 50. It's not going to be 50 of the coins that are going to land heads and 50 are going to land tails. But every time you
understand a two-sided coin.
The probability is going to be this way or that way.
Understood. With a
But
coin,
then that
with
would be reflected
hold on, Callie.
in the.
With a coin, yes. With childbirth, hell fucking no. That's all I'm saying. Based on the numbers.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Like if that was the case, then it'd be reflected. It'd be higher than one per. What'd you say, Ham? 5,000.
5,000. Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah. So I think that the 50% chance of dying is a hyperbolic way of saying that Black women have a higher rate of death or complications during childbirth.
No,
because we know that part is a fact.
Callie, slow
but
down.
The 50.
What Joy's saying, right, is untrue. It's a lie. You can't say it's hyperbole to say when Black women go into the hospital, they have a 50% chance of dying. That's not true. What we do see is 15%. Okay? But when you say 50%, that's beyond hyperbole to illustrate a point. That's disingenuous.
So should I just say it's exaggerated? Is that a better word than hyperbolic?
No, I'm saying, and I don't even think Joy was like doing this maliciously, but it's diabolical to say that.
Okay, gotcha.
It's diabolical to say that, right? We want to be realistic because, Callie, you remember, I'm the one that was like, wait a minute. If these obesity rates aren't so far apart, why are Black women dying at 2 times more than white women when Black women are only 3% fatter? Right? Just to try to. So that don't make sense. So there is a disparity. Excuse me. I think there is a disparity in care. Right? I can acknowledge that. But we sit up and say 50% dying just to make the point that this world is harder for women than men is crazy.
Yeah, I don't and see, and that's where I kind of I don't think it's one is harder than the other. I think it's just different. We just face different obstacles or different we just have different hurdles to cross. I don't think one is necessarily harder than the other just because we are running different races. We're not running against each other in the same race. We're running different races.
I know, but here's the thing about the point. When you say necessarily, you're acknowledging the point that disagrees with yours. Right? When people are like, oh, but not necessarily. Well, because you kind of like on the fence with it. You know? Because if you start to measure things, social safety nets and things, I think you'll find that there's a large disparity.
True.
Go ahead, Tay.
There it is. Because
I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
No, you good. I was just going to ask you. So because we're talking about the numbers or disparities, right? So if we're keeping the logic of, okay, women are, and I know I don't agree with the 50-50, but if we're saying, okay, women are risking their lives during childbirth, but my thing is men are risking their lives every single day, and they're always willing to fight, kill, and die for you every single day. That's like the role of a man, right? So I just don't understand why it's so hard for women, Black women in particular, to realize or to understand our role. If we understand that man is one, woman is two, then why are we having such a hard time with the fact that men live harder lives? Everybody goes through trauma because we're all human living this experience. But to negate
how are they risking
what
their
men
life
are
every
going
day?
through.
How are they risking their life every day?
Being a man. Just being a man is risking his life every day. He has to kill, fight, and die for you. That's his role, right? That's a woman's expectation. So how is it? How can we reconcile that with, a woman is, and I agree, women are risking their lives, but not at that rate you guys quoted. But yeah,
Well,
we
he's
risk
not
our
either.
lives.
I
put,
He's not
wanna
either. He's
say,
not risking his life every day. What are you
can
talking
hold on
I
about?
one
ask you
second.
a question, right? Um, right. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Coach Ty. Like I agree
Okay.
with what you're
Hey,
saying, right? Tay, I agree with what you're saying as far as that is the expectations of women. So it's like it's really not even an argument for it. But if we're talking about as far as work, yeah, it's women out here. I'm a woman. I was an officer before, so it's like I know what comes with that. You get what I'm saying? With that type of that field of work. So it's not just men out here risking their lives. It's women in the army as well. It's women that go to war as well. Like it's women that die and behind these jobs as well.
Right. No,
So
I'm not discounting that,
yeah,
sis, at all. Yeah,
yeah,
and I appreciate you for your service. I'm not
yeah,
discounting that at all. My main point is just that men are doing it every day, despite what the job is. Because if you think about it,
yeah, for sure.
the bridges that you drive over, a woman didn't build that. The buildings that you're taking these elevators into to go into these fancy offices and working these jobs, these high paying jobs, a woman didn't build that. So I'm just saying in terms of the infrastructure and the things that we have that we enjoy the luxuries of life, and Hamp has said it before on the panel that all of that is because of a man. So it's like
For
if
sure.
they're taking the harder jobs and doing the brunt of the work, then how is it that we feel like we can compare ourselves to that? That's where I'm
Okay.
lost on it.
Well, my thing is that I'm not going to allow the men that do, I'm not going to allow them to be the shield for the men that don't.
Hmm.
So you ain't building no bridges. You getting on this freeway and going to your cubicle just like I am. You're not risking your life every day any more than what I am by getting on the freeway and going to work.
Okay.
You're not the
I
same
just have
person
a
that's building that
Right.
bridge. You know,
I
I
get
you know
get
what
that
I'm
what
part
you're
saying?
now.
Like,
saying,
I
Right.
don't,
but
yeah, like it's a,
Yeah,
I
now
still agree with Coach Tay. But I get what you're
you're
saying too.
deflecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that part, but that's like how often I'm okay, just okay. All right. I said what I said.
I have a question. So like why does it seem like when we're talking about a man's life and like how hard a man's life could be, why does it seem like when we're talking about that, it's an attack on a woman's life? Like I thought we already agreed that we're not running the same race. Like we're not
Exactly.
even, you know?
yeah, because
So
the
That is
connotation
that
is
is,
that we're
that
living
has
some
been
kind of soft
established.
life
you
because
said what?
because it implies that we're living some kind of soft life, and that's
But
not the
if
case.
but it
Yeah,
but
and
this
But
I
that's
think
your
that's
case though.
Hold
That's
on,
not
let her.
because I think a lot of people,
Guys, real quick, right? Just be mindful of this. So Aaliyah's asking these questions to try to get to a point. So she may just have a clarifier, and she may want to respond. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all could talk your shit. And that goes for anybody who like asked the question because they may want to. They trying to understand something before they give their sentiment. Go ahead, Aaliyah. Do you remember what you want to say? Because they're
you
all
know
trying
like
to.
I that that's just I just was trying to mine that out because we established on the live stream that we're not the same, like we're not, like I said, running the same race. So when we're talking about how hard a man's life is, why does that seem like it's an attack on a woman's life? And Callie has said because it makes it seem as if we're living some sort of soft life, but like if we are, what's the problem with that?
but we're not though.
But we're not.
And I think that's the biggest issue. So it's not that we're discrediting what the man goes through. I think sometimes when we be like, oh, but they go through this and they go through that, we go through those same trials and tribulations as an African woman as well. And I think when we always go like tit for tat, what's worse and who's worse, it does discredit the other person experience, whether that's a male or a female. And I think that's the biggest issue, discrediting that and then acting like as if what that other person went through isn't justified or is it significant.
And I'd like to also add, I think this came up because I think some people are saying men are number one and women number two. So, and reason being, that was a reason brought up. So we have to bring it up if we're saying, that's not the case. So we have to say, okay, if that's what you're saying, then this is what we're saying. So I think that's why it wouldn't have come up otherwise.
I mean, I
But
think
that's
for
what
me, the
I'm
high.
saying. If we already established men one, women two,
No,
why can't
not
we?
everybody established
Well,
that.
you're right.
Well, the
I'm
majority
just
of us did.
yeah. So I'm just saying, like,
Correct.
why we're not? I don't know. Like, it's just it seems as if we are discrediting what they're going to try to justify what we experience in life, and y'all already conceded to the fact that men experience this thing more than what we experience it. So when you're talking about women in the army or women correctional officers or women that do these laborious jobs that men do on a regular everyday basis, those women are few far in between.
Right.
So they're not the rule. That's not the majority of women's lives. So if we're talking about the majority of women in our lives, if we live a softer life, and if we're doing the comparison thing, if we live a softer life, why can't we just be okay with that? Why do we need to make the life that we live seem as hard as a man's life to try to make us on the same level or some
To
of
make
that?
us equal.
So,
Yeah.
for
And
that's
me,
the
that's not what I was
comparison
saying
piece
either.
that I was talking about, right?
No one was
I'm
discounting
not
the women's
comparing.
story.
I'm
so
not in the business of comparing the two like that. Like I said, we're running different races. So if that man is built for that, then he's running that race. And those expectations and requirements of him are going to be comparable to what he's capable of. So whatever he does with that is going to make his shit harder or softer compared to other men, not compared to women. I'm
So
saying just because I'm a woman and my list of things is in my column of woman does not mean that I live a soft life and I have it easy automatically. And that's usually how these conversations go when
mm-hmm.
people are talking about, when men are talking about, oh, women just live this soft life because she ain't doing the exact same shit that I'm doing. No, compare
Mm-hmm.
yourself to other men. Don't compare yourself to women and saying that, oh, well, it's just soft and they got it easy and all this kind of stuff like that. No, I have it hard for my column of shit that I'm responsible for.
So you're speaking about you
And
personally and not majority of women.
Right, and no one
no,
was speaking to soft life.
it is the majority of people because
I
Aaliyah
had
did
said soft
mention,
because that's what
yeah,
they had said.
Aaliyah did mention a soft life. So for me, this is why I don't
So
make the
the majority of
comparison
women don't live a
because
soft life?
so when we talk about soft
We're not
life,
talking about the
when
women.
it
We're talking about the men.
but I understand that, but when we are talking about soft life, we automatically assume jobs. Yes, we live soft life
Who
when it comes
automatically
to
assumes
jobs.
that?
I'm not even finished my statement. So when
Who?
we
I'm trying to
talk
understand
about,
your
and
statement.
I need to finish my statement so I
I'm just
can
trying to
thoroughly get
understand
that
your
point
statement.
across. So
Who was
when
that?
we talk about this soft life, I automatically assume jobs. So I'm just saying, okay, yes, we go into fields of work that is more soft, not hard, not rigid, that we really don't risk our life. But when it comes to the discrimination that these people throw against us, we face that shit the same. So yes, I'm not gonna front and say the brothers, they have it 10 times harder because, they are black, they are men, and they're looked at a certain way. But also, women go through that too. And I think when you discredit it, like Kylie was saying, it leads to that illusion that we're just sitting here going peacefully and eating ice cream and just having this luxurious life and just like living in this bliss. And it's not that. We're busting our ass. We're going through the same hardships. And that's why I don't understand why we can't come to a common ground that say, hey, we're both struggling. We're both going through the same thing as people. Let's not figure out how we can get together, get through it together instead of keep on fucking this blame game. Because this is all we doing. It's either the bitches or the niggas.
So
I just want to preface, wait, just real quick. I just want to preface that, like, when I said soft, like, we're talking about harder. So that's what I meant by softer, not the typical like social media definition of a soft life, like the
I'm
softer
just
life.
saying in
That's not what I'm
general,
talking about, but
like
like a
we both
softer
go
life
through
than
those,
what?
we both go through the hardships. And I think that if
Yeah,
we
but not
just
as much as
focus,
men is what I'm
Are you
saying.
so?
but
Can I
every
just ask?
time
This is
we
a question
say
to
not
Aaliyah.
as much, that discredits the
It's
other
not this.
person
No,
It's
it's
not
not
experience.
discredit,
discredited.
but that's
It's
what I
just
was
the facts,
asking.
though,
It's not
Si.
to discredit. It's just to state it what it is. Like
So
that's just
I
what it is.
understand that you, and I understand that Aaliyah and to me, I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is when we hear these conversations, like Callie stated earlier, it is more so to discredit that person instead of saying, okay, let's do this together because we're on the same fucking team. We both got the same eye. But instead of doing that, it's always who go through worse, who do the more work. And I don't know. I don't know.
So
I feel like it has to be that back and forth because we can't just establish what is. Like we can't just understand what is. We have to debate it. Like it
So,
just
but when
it
does the debate it stop? When does the
the
debate stop
debate
and we
stops
really put the
when
work in and say, hey, yeah, you fucked up, I'm fucked up. Let's fix on being fucked up. Because if we keep on going to like these little debates, I don't see us ever getting to a solution. Because the people who are actually doing the solution and doing the work, they're getting the results.
well, once we agree on what is, then we can get to solutions. The problem is we don't agree on what is. So that's why when I say men having a harder experience, I'm not discrediting a woman's experience. I understand we also go through hard shit. I'm just saying more likely to go like more on a regular basis, just more. It's men, and it's okay. It's okay that that's like that. We should just be
Nobody
able to.
said that it isn't. I'm just saying
But
that.
that's what it makes it seem like when we have to have a constant debate about it. It makes it seem
But
as
we
though
have these debates because the conversations, and you know, that's good that you're not around those conversations. But those conversations are being had where those experiences are being discredited, and that is the cause. I think that's the root cause of the problem. And I totally agree. Men do go through worse shit than females. But
Right.
when you discredit it, and act as if that shit does not mean anything, that's where the problem lies.
so you're saying
Right.
that
So
just saying that what men go through, just stating the facts discredits what a woman goes through.
I can't keep on repeating
They
myself.
diminish it more
Like,
often
yeah,
than
I can't
not.
keep on
So
doing
just
this.
like
yes.
just like just like when men reverse the roles or whatever, and they'll say, "Oh, I ain't finna be no house husband or whatever like that. I ain't finna be no stay at home husband, just sit around and do nothing." Well,
Mhm.
you're actually discrediting what a housewife actually does or the work that she puts in to run that household while you're at work. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's just an example or whatever. Not the reason, but that is just an example of many as to how these combos go
oh,
when they said they have it harder. That means that you aren't going through basically anything or whatever like that, and it diminishes what you
Right.
actually
why you
do go
guys? Let me
through.
ask you guys a
That's just
question.
how this.
So you feel like being a housewife is actually harder than going out and working?
Oh my God.
It's not hard. We're
That's
not
not.
saying
Wait,
that
wait.
it's
All right.
harder
Right,
because
Let me
we're
say.
but it's not
Wait, he ain't trying to
It's
discredited.
not
reset.
about
Hold on.
hard.
No,
He
It's not
trying to
even about
reset real quick.
harder
the
or
Hey,
facts
it's
are
not.
the facts, though, y'all. You
The
just
facts
said
are
you
the
just
facts is that the
agreed that
majority of us
men
are
have it
not
harder.
staying at
So why are
home.
we?
guys.
Why is it even a
So,
debate?
No, the facts are the facts is
but
that the
this
majority of us
is
Can y'all hear
are
him?
this
staying
is the
home
problem.
and we still
This
do
is the
majority of the
problem.
household work.
This is the
So
problem.
that
Callie.
all right. Yep.
This is
All
the
right.
problem. We're having a conversation now, right? And you're bringing in sentiments that haven't been shared, right? So that wasn't said today, Saad. I've heard it before, but it wasn't said today.
No,
That wasn't said today, Callie, but I heard it before, but it wasn't said
no.
today. Aaliyah said something direct, right? Tay said exactly what she said. Now we're saying, hey, we got to bring in other examples that didn't exist here in this conversation to
No,
say
she
the
asked.
reason why. Well, Callie, let me finish, right? And you can independently talk regardless of what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is being disregarded anyway, right? So let me just talk to the 500 people, right? So when I hear things being brought in that weren't said today, let's have the conversation in real time, right? So Saad even acknowledged men have it harder in multiple ways. It doesn't mean it's easy for women. So Saad, I agree with you. However, we have to tell the truth in order to move further, right? We have to be honest in order to move further, right? Because what actually happens if we don't acknowledge the truth, we can't move forward because we're being dishonest with one another. But nobody is in any way, shape, or form not acknowledging the disparities. You know?
I agree.
So I agree with you. It's just that we got to tell the truth. Like the disparity in women, black women dying needs to be acknowledged and examined. Ain't nobody dismissing that shit. Right? But when we just saying in the earth because of how things are set up, you know, generally there's a lot more difficulties that men will have. And a lot of the times we're responsible doing them to each other, you know, and making it hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that can be acknowledged, but we got to tell the truth. You know, I know Joy was trying to get in. Tamia was trying to get in. Callie, you can go. You were trying to say something. But it's just
I don't remember, but I wasn't. I don't remember, but I wasn't trying to cut you off, whatever, like that. I may or may not have a delay. This the one that I dropped. This the Bluetooth that I dropped in the sink and it got water damage and shit like that. So I may not, you know. But anyway, what you gonna call it? Aaliyah had asked a question like, where is this sentiment coming from? And I was just trying to explain where the sentiment comes from, and why does it seem like it's an opposing thing, like, you know what I'm saying, as far as this living. I was just trying to explain. Just giving background information because she asked that kind of specific question.
Well, here's the truth. Here's the truth about what Tamia is saying, right? And this, people may not like how it sounds, but it doesn't make it any less true, right? Being a housewife has its trying times and difficulties, right? But me being able to work passively, right, because my guys do most of the physical heavy lifting, and me working from home and operating the computer and streaming is easier on me. It is easier on my body. It is easier mentally. I don't got to fight traffic and things of that nature, right? But I'm still generating the right amount of income, right? So the physicality isn't there, having to get up, take snow off the car if you live up north and all types of shit, right? So my wife, she does a great job helping with the business, you know? But if she would need to be home and get the kids, she can do all that shit, right? Because she don't work for nobody. You see? That, right, just on his face is easier, right? We also wouldn't be as successful as we are without it. You see? Because you're making a comparison to two things, right? But the value of them, you know, to me, what she does is uberly valuable, right? And my life would be much more difficult without it, right? That's how we make it make sense. But we just got to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I would break it down. You know, but
yeah, I was gonna say that I think the problem lies when y'all keep saying like what's the problem? It definitely comes with women just don't wanting to accept the fact they always have to compare their self to men. If women just start to accept the facts for what it is, that men does have it harder, then it wouldn't be no argument.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not
disagree on that.
With that, so if you're not comparing, what are you doing if we're talking about what men has and then you bringing up what women have, like what, that's not a comparison?
No, that's not a comparison. That's me responding to the comparison, saying, hey, just because you doing X, Y, and Z, don't make my shit soft.
But that's putting a comparison with a comparison, though.
No, it's not. It's just saying, don't say that my shit is soft just because it ain't yours.
Yeah. Okay.
I think never mind, I forgot.
Joy, you were trying to say something. You've been quiet.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. I think what the question I was trying to ask Aaliyah is, when she says soft, is it you talking about the physicality of it? Because there's
Yeah, that's what I was
okay. Now
talking
I
about. I
get what
wasn't
you're
talking
saying.
about soft as in like soft girl life, like sitting in the
The
house being cute.
physicality. Okay,
Yeah, that's what I was talking
that
about.
makes sense more now
Physicality,
to me.
violence, things of that nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what I was
Okay,
talking
that's
about.
the clarification I needed, and the host touched on that. So that's that. So I can agree with that in terms of the physical stress. So I can definitely agree with that. So I need a clarification on that. And then the point I pulled up something. It says over 800 women die daily globally due to childbirth. So that number to me is daily, not even weekly, daily. So 800 women die daily globally due to childbirth. Because I know we were talking about childbirth price, so I wanted to pull that statistic out.
How many is that?
800
times 365.
Oh, it's per year. Let me see.
Look at Rainbow Kid.
What he say? I can't see.
The host, girl, you fine.
Wait, times 365 is 292,000.
Okay. Yeah. And this is what happens, Joy, right? How many women in the world?
I don't know.
No, we gotta know. We don't want them to die, right? But this is how numbers actually be working. Like they so over here, Joy, I wasn't sure. I don't know how it was in the UK, but during COVID, right? They were like, man, they scared the hell out of us with this COVID shit, right? But it killed like what 200,000 people, I think, or 100,000 people, and it was like less than 1%
of the population.
Yeah, and so it's not to dismiss the number, right? But then when you do a comparative analysis of the entire population of women, it's like because everybody not gonna make it, right? Like you said, there are difficulties during childbirth and things of that nature. We have 15% in a first world country. You know what I mean? So 15% of black women giving birth here are passing away in a first world country with the great, arguably the best medicine. Imagine what's happening in third world countries, right? So we could definitely put that together. But what'll happen is they'll do a comparative analysis of it and say 200,000 and there's what 3 billion women,
4.1
billion women.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a 0.00% percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I think that comparison came about, men going to war. So again, everything is comparison, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. That's how things are done. Like, so is that a lot or is it? But when people are dying, it's tough to just. It's hard to be like, that ain't a lot because people still dying, right? Which is the point.
Right, and then also these are just what was, there's people dying in remote villages that are not counted for. Do you know what I mean? But this is so.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead. Somebody was gonna say something. No. I thought somebody was gonna say something. I want to say something.
I'm gonna just let it go.
Okay, so hey,
how long? So I've got a question. How long does this go on for? Time-wise?
We about to be done. You sleepy?
It's 4 a.m. I'm about to be up in a few hours.
So we almost at the 3-hour mark, Joy. So you good? We usually go about 2.5, 3 hours, and the conversation pivoted kind of from the initial premise, but I think it was substantive because it's like we be arguing about some shit where should it be an argument or should we be like, okay, you get that concession? But we fighting like a motherfucker.
It shouldn't be an argument. It really shouldn't be an argument. It's just the truth. It's just the facts.
So we got 8 minutes.